Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome you to this ceremony celebrating the inauguration of the Governor and Lieutenant Governor of the First State. If you are able, please stand for the arrival of the inaugural party. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Lieutenant Governor of the State of Delaware, Matthew P. Denn, and his wife, Michelle, and their sons, Adam and Zachary. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the 73rd Governor of the State of Delaware, Jack A. Markell, and his wife Carla, and their children Molly and Michael. The University of Delaware student, Elizabeth Rivera, will sing our national anthem, accompanied by the Newark High School Yellow Jacket. They just told me I need to post the colors first. Please remain standing as the Delaware Police Color Guard presents the colors. Our invocation will be delivered by the Most Reverend W. Francis Malooly, Bishop of the Catholic Diocese of Wilmington.
Gracious God, bless our Governor Jack Markell and our Lieutenant Governor Matt Denn with wisdom and courage, with grace and strength. As your prophet Micah reminds us, what is good has been explained to you, and in response, this is what God asks of you, only this: to act justly, to do justice, to love tenderly, to love kindness, and to work humbly with your God. Let our leaders be so challenged and blessed. May they continue in these next 4 years by their example and encouragement to foster volunteerism and service. Let us commit ourselves to join them and reach out and help others, and together build up an even stronger, more caring community in our state of Delaware. We place these prayers before you. Continue to sustain us now and forever. Amen.
Please be seated. It is my pleasure to introduce a special guest seated on the platform, former Governor Michael N. Castle. Sitting in the front, former First Lady and widow of Governor Sherman Tribbitt, Jean Tribbitt. President Pro Tem of the Senate, the Honorable Patricia M. Bevins. Speaker of the House, the Honorable Peter C. Schwarzkopf. State Auditor Thomas R. Wagner. Insurance Commissioner Karen Weldon Stewart. State Treasurer Chipman Chip Flowers. Attorney General Joseph R. Bo Biden III. Mindful of the blessings of the rich heritage of leadership that surrounds us today, we will now proceed with the administration of the constitutional oaths of office. The Honorable Jan R. Jurden, Judge of the Superior Court, will administer the oath of office to Lieutenant Governor Den. Will Michelle and Zach and Adam please escort the Lieutenant Governor to the podium?
I, Matthew Philip Den, do proudly swear.
To carry out the responsibilities of the office of Lieutenant Governor to the best of my ability.
To carry out the responsibilities of the office of Lieutenant Governor to the best of my ability.
Freely acknowledging that the powers of this office
Freely acknowledging that the powers of this office
flow from the people I am privileged to represent.
flow from the people I am privileged to represent.
I further swear always to place the public interests above any special or personal interests.
I further swear always to place the public interest above any personal or special interests.
And to respect the right of future generations.
And to respect the right of future generations.
To share the rich historic and natural heritage of Delaware.
To share the rich historic and natural heritage of Delaware.
In doing so, I will always uphold and defend the constitutions of my country and my state.
In doing so, I will always uphold and defend the constitutions of my country and my state.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Good morning. Judge Jurden, my friend Jack Markell, family members who have joined me here today, including my sister and my mom and my dad, thank you for being here to see me take the oath of office a second time for a job that I love and that I'm privileged to hold. 2 nights ago, Michelle and I came home a little earlier than expected from the prayer service that kicked off this inaugural. Our boys hadn't expected to see us before they went to sleep, and when we came in, they were so excited that they jumped up and down and cheered in their pajamas. I suspect that I will remember that moment more than anything that happens today. In the midst of all of the inaugural hullabaloo, it was a reminder of what is really important. Adam and Zach, I am incredibly proud of you, and you and your mom are more important to me than anything else. And to my gorgeous wife, Michelle, who works and takes care of the boys and still has enough left to have made our 10 years together the best 10 years of my life, I want to thank you for sacrificing so much that I can do this work. Thank you, honey. "256 days after the governor and I last took our oaths in 2009, on the other side of the world, on the Afghanistan-Pakistan border, a squadron of 53 American soldiers came under attack from Taliban troops. The American soldiers were vastly outnumbered and outgunned. They were surrounded on all sides. And the gunfire was so intense that helicopters could not help them. 8 of them died. There were acts of heroism by American soldiers that day that would dwarf anything that you would see in a Hollywood movie. Specialist Zach Koppes defended a guard post alone for 12 straight hours during the attack, squatting in a Humvee with no working radio, struggling to breathe because of the smoke from the burning camp, dodging sniper fire and rocket-propelled grenades. He held off advancing Taliban fighters. Specialist Cody Floyd, a medic, was injured by shrapnel when a rocket fell early in the attack. And while fire closed in and Taliban fighters infiltrated the camp, he stood with a rifle strapped to himself and treated his injured comrades. During the attack, he had his own blood drawn to transfuse into an injured soldier that he was helping treat. Sergeant Jonathan Hill barely escaped a grenade and then calmed his men who were surrounded by gunfire and buildings, some of which were burning, and led the effort to retake part of the camp that had been overrun by the Taliban. Once he succeeded, he helped run back through gunfire to retrieve the bodies of men who had nicknamed him Dad to ensure that they received a proper burial. I mention all of this today for 2 reasons. One is that our country took too little notice of what these men did. Men like Zach Koppes, Cody Floyd, and Jonathan Hill are American heroes and should be treated as such. So I asked them to come here today to let us do that. Would you please welcome them? Gentlemen. There's a second reason that I mention these men today. Their presence reminds us that we have a sacred obligation to those who have sacrificed for us, to the generation that follows us, an obligation to lay a foundation for greatness. Being the greatest nation on earth is not an inheritance or a guarantee. It must be earned over and over by each generation. And here in Delaware, we do our part by recognizing that greatness comes when we help individuals fulfill their God-given potential. When we recognize that the next Steve Jobs may be the 8-year-old son of a struggling single parent in Wilmington, waiting to be inspired by a great teacher. That the next Sonia Sotomayor may be a toddler in Seaford, whose life will be forever changed by the help that she gets before she's even 3 years old. We have a moral obligation to our state's children to help them achieve. We also have an obligation as patriots to recognize that in their hands lies the future of our state and country. I used to accept this premise on faith, but in the last 8 years I have seen it every day in my own 2 boys. I have seen how teachers have inspired them. I've seen doctors and nurses care for them. I've seen my wife artfully mold them, often through the eloquence of her own example, into the hard-working and kind boys that they are today. And I don't know what their future holds, but I know that it is infinitely brighter because of the adults who surround them. We should want nothing less for each child in this state. Now, what does that mean for us? It means thinking about the future and, where necessary, sacrificing for the future. It means being true to the edict to love thy neighbor as thyself. I have never been more proud of our governor than when he invested the one significant revenue increase that we had in our first term in early childhood education, in 3- and 4-year-olds who may never know him and may never vote for him, but their lives and our state are changed by what he did. Governor, thank you for your courage. And in the next 4 years, we will continue to look to the future. Finally, there is one present-day concern that continues to weigh on all of our consciences. Too many Delawareans are still out of work. Today's not the day to boast about everything we've done or detail everything that we will do to help our state fight back from the worst national recession in almost a century. Suffice it to say that those Delawareans looking for work are also our neighbors, and we are fundamentally responsible for them. We will keep fighting every day towards our simple goal that every Delawarean willing to work will find work. The 3 men that I introduced you to today are exceptional, but not unique. Many from right here in Delaware have put their safety on the line. Just days ago, over 100 Delaware National Guard members deployed for a year in Kandahar. Just last night, I met Stephanie Mason, a member of the Army Reserve who just returned home to Delaware after 2.5 years at Walter Reed Hospital, recuperating from injuries she suffered in Afghanistan. The sacrifices they all have made to protect our country are staggering. What is asked of us, in comparison, is precious little. To look out for our neighbors, now more than ever, when many still struggle, and to care for all of our state's children with a passion that at least approaches that which we feel for our own. If we keep these values in our hearts, they will steer us towards decisions that will fulfill our greatest aspirations for our state and our people, and will bring us closer to the day when we make true the words of the great American poet Walt Whitman, who told us that the strongest and sweetest songs remain to be sung. Thank you for being here with us today.
Ladies and gentlemen, Chad Michael Jarvis, a senior at Calloway School of the Arts, will now sing his own composition, I Am America. Please welcome Chad.
Thank you. This song was written on September 11, 2011. ran so far away and never looked back. All those faces blank and minds turned black. People screaming out with all their might, who knew that smoke would take their lives. The worst part was that she was on that flight. I am life, I am liberty, I am happiness, and I am free, I am hope for all. In hysteria, I will never fall. I am America. Walked home and saw the message on the machine. I heard her voice as she began to scream. She said she loved me and started to cry. She told me she was gonna die. Then I heard the crash as she said goodbye. I am life, I am liberty, I am happiness, and I am free, I am hope for all. In hysteria, I will never fall. I am America. I went to the waterfalls and saw her name. Took a piece of paper and pencil and I began to shade. I touched the letters with such grace as tears came streaming down my face. She's the part of me I can't replace. She is life, she is liberty, she is happiness, she is free, she is hope for all. In hysteria, we will never fall. Oh, we are life, we are liberty, we are happiness, and we are free, we are hope for all. In hysteria, we will never fall. We are America. We are America. We are America. Thank you.
The Honorable Myron T. Steele, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, will administer the oath of office to Governor Markell.
Will Carla and Molly please escort the governor to the podium?
I, Jack Markell,
do proudly swear
to carry out the responsibilities
of the office of governor
to the best of my abilities,
freely acknowledging
freely acknowledging
that the powers of this office
flow
from the people
flow from the people
I am privileged to represent.
I am privileged to represent.
I further swear
I further swear
always to place the public interest
always to place the public interest
above any special or personal interest,
above any special or personal interest,
and to respect the right of future generations
and to respect the right of future generations
to share the rich historic
to share the rich, historic,
and natural heritage of Delaware.
and natural heritage of Delaware.
In doing so,
In doing so,
I will always uphold and defend
I will always uphold and defend
the constitutions of my country
the constitutions of my country
and my state.
and my state.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. And it means a lot to me that you do it. Thank you very much. To Lieutenant Governor Denn, Auditor Wagner, Attorney General Biden, Insurance Commissioner Weldon Stewart, and Treasurer Flowers, President Pro Tem Blevins, Speaker Schwarzkopf, members of the General Assembly. Chief Justice Steele, thank you. Judge Jurden, members of the Judiciary, former Governor Castle, former First Lady Tribbitt, General Vavala and Colonel Moore, our guests from embassies and consulates who have joined us for this occasion, Bishop Malooly, Rabbi Grumbacher, Carla and Molly, my brother David, my sister Judy, Mom, my fellow Delawareans. Let me first say that our son Michael would very much like to have been here today. Alas, he has midterms, and I guess he chose his priorities. I also want to say that all the wonderful things that Lieutenant Governor Den said about Michelle and his kids, ditto. I love you both, and Michael, and I'm just so blessed to have so many family who have joined us today. 4 years ago, I took the oath of this office with a solemn sense of obligation. We faced soaring unemployment and record budget shortfalls, and we had, as I said at the time, historic and hard decisions to make. Now, 2 weeks ago, I was reminded that the obligations of this office remain solemn and serious. As Commander-in-Chief of the Delaware National Guard, I was present as loved ones said goodbye to 127 soldiers from our 153rd Military Police Company. They were leaving for 1 year to serve our nation in Afghanistan. Now, this year, more members of our National Guard will be deployed to hostile theaters than at any time since 9/11. For some, it'll be their third deployment. And their willingness to serve and to give years of their lives to forgo the comforts of home, to place themselves in harm's way, is truly humbling. The bravery and sacrifice of these young Delawareans rightfully evokes comparisons to the greatest generation, a generation that is leaving us far too quickly. Of the 16 million Americans who served in the Second World War, fewer than 1 in 10 remain. My own father, a veteran of the European theater in World War II, sat in the front row of my inaugural 4 years ago. He died 2 months later. And the passing of the greatest generation brings to mind the question of the measure of a generation's greatness. The founding generation risked their lives and legacy to give us a system of government that has, over the course of centuries, made us the freest, most flourishing people in the history of humanity. The Civil War generation fought our nation's bloodiest war so that the horizons of liberty and equality might be expanded for future generations. The greatest generation endured depression and global war and responded by building institutions that laid the groundwork for decades of peace and prosperity. And the civil rights generation braved billy clubs and firebombs to make real the promise of dignity and equality for all Americans. Now, that these are the generations that we celebrate as Delawareans and Americans reflects our deep and abiding belief, shared by so many for so long, that if we work hard and if we build for the future, we can make it possible for our children to live a better life. We are believers in the possibility of improvement and of progress, and we're parties to an unspoken compact. As our ancestors have done for us, so we must do for posterity. Enjoy the blessings that have been bestowed upon us, but multiply them in turn for those whose time is yet to come. Now, keeping faith with that compact is the most sacred obligation of this office, of every office of public trust, and of citizenship itself. And it is an obligation that Delawareans have met time and time again. Delaware led the way in enshrining the ideals of the Revolution in a Constitution that has stood the test of time. P.S. and T. Coleman DuPont led the creation of the schools and the highways that helped build America's middle class. Lewis Redding and Colin Seitz laid the premise for the Supreme Court's historic Brown versus Board of Education decision. And the Milford 11 endured indignities to make real for others that decision's promise of dignity for all. Now, 50 years from now, and 100 years from now, new generations of Delawareans will likely gather as we do today. They may not know our names, and they certainly won't know our faces. But they will know what we have done, whether we have made Delaware better or worse in our time, because it is they who will live with the results. They will know whether we responded to global economic pressures by laying a new groundwork for future prosperity, or whether we allowed the American dream to fade on our watch. They will know whether we protected our state from the threats posed to it by a warming planet, or whether we left our state exposed to the future ravages of storm and of sea. They will know whether we expanded the circle of freedom and equality and dignity in our time, or whether we stood in the way of progress. So let it be said of us that we understood the times we lived in, and that we appreciated the strength of the foundation that was created for our benefit by others, and that we did as the great law of the Iroquois so wisely commands, that in every deliberation we considered the impact of our decision on the seventh generation in the future, even if the decision required having skin as thick as the bark of a pine. Now, I know that we have the vision and we have the fortitude that's required, because I've seen it in the historic and hard decisions of the past 4 years. We closed the largest budget shortfall in our state's history by together choosing a course of shared sacrifice. We made difficult cuts, but we protected the most vulnerable among us. We continued to invest in our children and their future, and knowing that education was critical to that future, we came together and we created an ambitious plan to strengthen our schools. a plan to race to the top. And we're going to win that race because our plan is forward-looking and bold, and because every district and union and charter and school board in the state are putting aside their differences to support it. And we responded to crushing job losses by working to rebuild our economy. We encouraged existing employers to grow. We attracted new employers to our state. We made credit available to help our small businesses both survive in the present and build for the future. And faced with rising health and pension costs that threatened our children with the crushing burden of inherited obligations, we resisted the temptation to kick the can down the road. We brought everyone to the table, and we reached an agreement that will save future taxpayers billions of dollars. And rather than putting the questions of our environment and our children's quality of life on the back burner while we coped with the pressing demands of the present, we put them on the front burner by modernizing our energy infrastructure. In 4 years, Delaware has moved from one of the dirtiest fuel mixes in the country to one of the cleanest. And unwilling to ignore, even in hard economic times, the old and true maxim that justice delayed is justice denied, Delaware's also moved in 4 short years to put an end to legal discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation and to extend the protections of the law for all committed couples. Now, the work that we have done together these past 4 years is just the beginning. And that work continues starting today. We'll create a Delaware even better poised for prosperity in the new world that we live in. Rather than ask how we might consume more today, we will ask how we might invest more effectively in the foundation for tomorrow's growth, our schools, our workforce, and our quality of life. We will continue our efforts to make Delaware's public schools the envy of the world. And we must make it our goal that when our work is done, there is no place that the best and brightest teachers would rather teach, and there is no place that families would rather send their children than Delaware's public schools. We'll make it possible for every child in Delaware to achieve his or her full potential. All children will enter kindergarten ready to learn. They'll be taught to high standards and offered opportunities to acquire unique skills, such as world language fluency, that will make them stand out against their peers in Maryland and Mumbai. And all will graduate our schools prepared for the college or career of their choice, and they will have the best shot that we can give them to realize their dreams, and they will continue to build a strong Delaware for generations to come. We'll build on the legacy of past leadership, like the Coastal Zone Act and the Financial Center Development Act, to ensure that Delaware remains among the best places in the world to live, to work, and to do business. And the Delaware that we'll pass on to our children will continue to have beautiful beaches and abundant open space, and it will have cleaner air and more outdoor recreation and safer, more vibrant communities. The Delaware our children will inherit will also be an outsized exporter and a hub for entrepreneurial activity. We'll power our businesses with cleaner, cheaper, and more reliable energy, and the first state will be second to none in global stewardship and global competitiveness. And we will advance the cause of liberty, equality, and dignity in our time. Our state will be a welcoming place to live, to love, and to raise families for all who choose to call Delaware home. Now, these ambitions may be out of step with the doubt that has crept into our national mood, the doubt whether we can do big things, whether we can act in the present for the sake of the future. But in Delaware, we don't share these doubts. In tough times, generation after generation of Delawareans have come together and made the tough decisions. And every generation has left behind a greater and more prosperous Delaware as a result. And now, it is our generation's turn. This is our time. Let's continue to come together as the neighbors we are. Let's continue to put our common aspirations for our children first. And when we do these things, not only will we keep faith with the solemn and the sacred compact that has kept Delaware and America moving forward throughout our history, by our actions, we in the first state will show our country the way and give it reason to believe once again in its unique, historic, and hopeful promise. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
We have just witnessed and participated in the constitutional process that has successfully guided and carried us forward as a state for the past 236 years. Judging from our history, and the citizens of Delaware can be very proud of the leaders that we have here on the stage. Our executive leaders, Lieutenant Governor Den and Governor Markell, will face difficult decisions and challenges and will need the support and understanding of the citizens of Delaware. Our honored tradition of openly shared inauguration events and ceremonies now nearly to the end. This event, for its simplicity and significance, has been one of the most valuable and memorable experiences that a free people could ever witness. In his first inaugural address given on March 4, 1801, Thomas Jefferson extolled the principles of American democracy, saying, "The principles of American democracy form the bright constellation which has gone before us and guided our steps through an age of revolution and reformation. The wisdom of our sages and the blood of our heroes have been devoted to their attainment. They should be the creed of our political faith, the text of civil instruction, the touchstone by which to try the service of those we trust. And should we wander from them in moments of error or alarm, let us haste to retrace our steps and to regain the road which alone leads to peace, liberty, and safety." Now please stand as Libby sings the state song, "Our Delaware," accompanied by the 287th Army Band. Libby. All four verses, please join her in singing the fourth verse, the final chorus, which are printed in your program.
To God,
Please be seated. Rabbi Peter Grumbacher will give the benediction.
We leave here with great hope that the First State will be ably led once again by our governor and lieutenant governor. We leave here with great hope that the issues confronting us, as they confront all Americans, will be ably addressed. We leave here with great hope that the principles of justice and right, values that make this nation a unique beacon of light in an otherwise darkened world, guide Governor Markell and Lieutenant Governor Denn. And we leave here with the hope that they and their families will be blessed with good health, with love, and with the necessary sense of humor needed to put everything in perspective. We leave here with hope that they, all our citizens, our nation and the world, be blessed with peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace. Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi Grumbacher, and all who have participated in this ceremony, including our interpreter, Betsy Tucker, over here to my right, who is labeled really hard and working. To the many volunteers who have assisted this morning, and to the two fine bands, Newark High School, I believe that's the Governor's High School band, and the First Lady. And the Delaware National Guard. Thank you, thank you. Governor Markell, I want to express our warmest wishes and extend our most sincere prayers to you and your family as you continue to govern this wonderful state. Lieutenant Governor Den, we also extend to you and your family our congratulations and likewise wish you success. Please rise for the retirement of the colors and the departure of the inaugural party. Governor Markell and Lieutenant Governor Den will be happy to greet you on stage following some pictures taken with some of the participants. Capitol Police will assist you in forming the receiving line. Thank you for attending. You have made today's ceremony a memorable event. Thank you.